6 of the New York City Charter, a joint meeting of the Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and Bronx Borough Board. My name is Janet Bigetto, and I am your new Deputy Borough President. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today, and we will begin with roll call. We will start off with community boards, CB1.
Unmuted. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arlene Parks, and I'm the chair of Community Board 1.
Thank you. CB2.
Good morning, everyone. Ralph Acevedo, District Manager, Bronx Community Board 2.
Thank you. CB3.
Good morning, Dr. Bruce Rivera, Chairperson, Community Board 3.
Thank you. CB4. CB5.
Good morning. This is Ken Brown, District Manager at CB5.
CB6.
Good morning, Yvonne Capers, Chairperson.
Good morning, Carla Leon, Community Coordinator.
Thank you. CB7.
Hi, everyone. Emmanuel Martinez, Chair of CB7.
Good morning, everyone. Aisha Bravo, District Manager, Community Board 7.
Thank you. CB8.
Good morning. Laura Spalter, Chair, CB8.
CB9.
Good morning. Shirley San Andres Alonso, Assistant District Manager, CB9.
Thank you. CB10.
Good morning, Matt Cruz, CB10 District Manager.
CB11. Thank you. CB12.
Jeremy, District Manager. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
CB11, Jeremy Warnicki, District Manager. Sorry, my mic cut out for whatever reason.
CB12.
Good morning, Madam Deputy, and congratulations on your appointment. This is Dr. Michael Burke, Chairperson, Community Board 12.
Thank you so much.
George Torres, Community Board 12, District Manager.
Thank you. We'll proceed with City Council representatives. We'll start off with District 11.
Hello, Enzo Manzana here from the Office of Council Member Eric Dinowitz.
Good morning. District 12, CB2, Community City Council.
Good morning, Lachelle Walker, Scheduler for Councilmember Riley.
District 13, CM Velasquez.
Good morning, Adrian here from Councilor Velasquez's office. I'm Scheduler.
Good morning, I'm Stephanie. I am the Constituent Liaison.
Good morning. District 14, CM Sanchez.
Good morning, Amanda Perez Puentes, District Director for CM Sanchez.
Good morning. District 15, CM Feliz. District 16, CM Stevens.
Good morning, Kate Conley, Chief of Staff for CM Stevens.
Good morning. District 17, CM Salamanca.
Good morning, Shanna Knotts, Deputy Chief of Staff for Councilmember Salamanca.
District 18, CM Farias.
Good morning, Randy Malman, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Farias.
Good morning. And it is my honor and my great pleasure to open the virtual floor up to our newly appointed, the Honorable Bronx Borough President, Vanessa L. Gibson.
Thank you so much, Madam Deputy, and good morning, everyone. I am excited to be with all of you. I welcome you to our first Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and Bronx Borough Board meeting of this new year, 2022, a new year, a new chapter, a new beginning. I am grateful to all of you, to all of our distinguished chairpersons of our community boards and district managers and staff, to all of the members of the Bronx City Council delegation and your representatives, as well as to my staff. I have a lot of my team that's on the call, and I first want to acknowledge our new Deputy Borough President, Janet Bigetto. I'm excited that Both Janet and I are serving as your borough president and deputy borough president, and we have already hit the ground running. You will see us all over the borough dealing with so many issues that we've been confronted with in these first several weeks of the year. The deputy borough president will run all of our borough board meetings moving forward. Starting with today, I just wanted to take this opportunity to speak to all of you and greet you in one setting as your new Bronx Borough president. I'm grateful, I'm honored for the opportunity. Yesterday, we had a little bit of humor because some people thought I worked for the Queens Borough president, Donovan Richards. But I want everyone to be very clear. I am the Bronx Borough president. I don't work for Donovan Richards. We are clearing that up with DOT. But nonetheless, I want to say thank you to my team, my chief of staff, Justin Cortez, our director of community boards, Tom Lucania, our director of capital programs, Betty McCrae. We also have our director of constituent services and borough operations, Marisol Halpern. We also have Alexis Ruiz, Cecilia Hernandez, Israel Gonzalez, as well as our Director of Health and Human Services, Dr. Nancy Keck, and Chris McShane, our Director of IT, that makes sure all of these WebEx meetings runs smoothly. So once again, thank you all. And let me just begin by saying my sincere gratitude to all of you. Every single community board and council office stepped up in a major way. On January 9th, our borough was faced with a 5-alarm residential fire in the Fordham Heights community in Twin Parks, Northwest. And in that fire, we lost 17 neighbors, 9 adults, and 8 children, the youngest being 2 years old. This fire was one of the worst fires we have witnessed in the history of the city of New York. But as Bronxites, we are no strangers to horrific fires. The major fires in the past 30 years, unfortunately, have all occurred in the Bronx, from the Happy Land fire to the fire in Highbridge in 2007, a few years ago in the Belmont community, and now this year in Fordham Heights. It is certainly a call to action and attention, and I believe it's a state of crisis and state of emergency. But I'm so thankful to all of you that stepped up, that opened your offices to receive items, toiletries, basic necessities, raising money, helping us out at the Monroe Service Center, Bronx Community College, helping us at the Gambian Youth Organization. We are so grateful working with your bids and your merchants, really overwhelmingly showing your love for your neighbors in Fordham Heights. We are grateful. You're going to get a presentation today from the New York City Emergency Management that really oversaw all of the emergency services for these last several weeks. And even now, 3 weeks later, the families of Twin Parks still need a tremendous amount of help. We are in the process of working on permanent relocation opportunities for those families that choose not to return to Twin Parks. But I really want to say thank you. It has not been an easy time for us in the Bronx. That happened on January 9th. And the following week, we had a horrific building explosion on Fox Street in the Longwood community. And I'm so grateful to our council member and to CB2 and many of the community members in Longwood that really stepped up. We lost one resident, 77 years of age. And certainly the displacement of so many homeowners just reminds us that so many things continue to happen in the Bronx. And then we also had a police officer in the Belmont community that was shot in the line of duty, a member of the Public Safety Division, responding to disorderly conduct in that community, and was shot by an individual with a gun. And he is okay. He was released from the hospital the same night, but just reminding us of the dangers of police officers, the men and women of the NYPD, the serious issue we have to deal with the proliferation of illegal handguns. And I'm so grateful that the governor and the mayor of our city have formulated this interstate task force to deal with illegal handguns and the trafficking of guns coming into our city and our borough from out of state. And since that time, there have been other shootings, and certainly I want to lift up the family of baby Catherine, who turned 1 year old last week. She was shot while being in her car seat in the West Bronx, shy of her first birthday. Very painful, and we are so grateful that God spared her life. She's going to be okay, but she's in very serious condition. So I'm asking all of you to please pray for this baby, pray for her parents. All mom was doing was sitting in her vehicle with her child in the car seat. And there were two individuals that were in the middle of a gun battle. And unfortunately, baby Catherine was hit. And again, a reminder of the dangers of what our first responders go through. But we have serious challenges in this city when children cannot be safe in their car, when people cannot be safe in the waiting room of an emergency room, like what we witnessed earlier this week at Jacoby Hospital. And we were there, we were talking to the nursing staff and the medical team who were all traumatized because they sprang into action to help the victim who was shot in the waiting room. It continues to happen, and I am frustrated like many of you. You've reached out to me, and I want to assure you as your borough president that we are going to work with all of you and our stakeholders, our precinct councils. We're going to work with a new office that our office is going to create dedicated to public safety. We cannot sit by and allow our communities to be in destruction with individuals that choose to engage in gun violence. It plagues our neighborhoods, it plagues our borough, and certainly it's unacceptable and it's not normal. So we do have a lot of work to do. I also want to acknowledge and send our love and condolences to our colleague, our council member of District 8, Councilmember Diana Ayala, the Deputy Speaker of the City Council, on the loss of her queen, of her mother. We send our condolences and our prayers of healing and strength to Councilmember Ayala and her family during this painful time. And with that, thank you, everyone. I look forward to working with you. And thank you so much for your support of the residents of Twin Parks, the residents of Longwood. Thank you for always stepping up during the greatest time of need. You show the resilience and the strength of the Bronx, of New York, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And now I'll turn it back over to our deputy, Janet Bigetto. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Madam Borough President. Thank you for your words. And again, just want to echo our Borough President. We've been working around the clock, but we also want to thank you all for your support through this time and coming together in community to serve the families of Twin Park and joining us in prayers for the officers that we've lost in the previous days and weeks. And with that, I want to turn it over. We have a special presentation by the New York City Department of Emergency Management. And really quickly, just want to acknowledge that Dr. Bola is on from CB5. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Bola. And thank you so much for your work, your tireless dedication to serving the residents of Twin Parks. We've been there with you, the borough president and yourself, until 2 a.m. in the morning to ensure that every single family has shelter through these trying times. And just want to mention that really quickly before we move on. And with that, I believe, Jokarina, are you our presenter? Also, Jokarina, just want to thank you as well for your service and your support during this time. OEM has been working tirelessly around the clock. And with that, I hand it over to you.
I'm sorry. This is Marisol. I just want to advise you that Jose Rodriguez is here from Councilman Ayala's office. Just want to acknowledge him as well.
Thank you for joining us, Jose.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jokarina Duarte from New York City Emergency Management. Thank you all for your partnership and your great work. Thank you, Madam Board President and Madam Deputy Board President, for inviting us to do this little presentation about emergency management. I know many of you have heard about emergency management, and we're really not the one that go in and put out the fire, but we do have a big role when it comes to coordinating emergencies. So the way it really works for us is when it meets a trigger, we actually respond, or when agencies like the fire department or the department of building responds to a particular situation and they see that it's going to need a bigger coordination, that's when we actually get pulled into the scene and asked to response to this particular incident. As soon as we saw the number of people responding when it comes to the fire department, it met our trigger. So we had to send a responder out in the field. A lot of our responders are detailed to us from the fire department and the police department. So they already have the experience that we need when it comes to identifying the different resources that we're going to need for this particular job. So with that said, once we knew that this just was happening, we responded to the scene. And one of the things as a coordinating agency that we have is the responsibility to call on other city agencies and other partners like the Red Cross. So immediately we respond, the Red Cross was called, and we were able to, thanks to the elected officials and the board president's office, we were able to identify the local school. And thanks to the local school also for providing the space, and we open up the space as a service center to kind of house everyone that was being affected, and all of the city agencies to run interagency meetings to kind of coordinate all of the services that were happening and that needed to happen in the next couple of hours and into the next day. One other thing that I had to be honest and say is that, it's great that the city agencies, we have access to all of this public spaces, such as public school, but it becomes a challenge because we knew immediately after that the next day, this happened on Sunday, the next day is a Monday, the school needed to go back in section for the students. So we had to kind of demobilize all of the operation that we already had established at the school and transfer over to another location. In which we were thankful to get access to the Monroe College, and they opened the doors to run different point of operations from their location. We do have a program, it's called Share Your Space program, which is basically a survey that kind of help us identify spaces within different communities. So when we do have this kind of incident, we don't have to go crazy and kind of pinpoint and map different locations, and we can just tap on the partners and see if the space is still available for us to use. I am going to share the link, and we hope that you help us spread the words throughout your community boards with your non-for-profit and all of the private partners that you have. So help us spread the word. So when we do respond to your community district, we don't have to tap on you, on the elected, to help them map out space, but instead we hopefully have a better list and better understanding of your community, so we can tap on those locations automatically and we don't waste time. Again, we're very thankful with the Monroe College for providing the space. Basically, what the space entitled was, we open up a service center to provide affected families support that they needed. And as the day went by, obviously other supports and all the agencies were added to it. The first one was social services and, immediate help. But then later on, like the Department of Labor was identified by the board president as one of the areas where, they wanted to have in there. So we quickly tap on the Department of Labor to, be on site and provide services. The service center is transitioning out. As emergency management is a coordinating agency, and we do have a role to coordinate. But at some point, this is going to transition to long case management. And I believe DSS is working, and Moya is working with Bronx Work as going to be the case management non-for-profit that's going to be helping and overseeing the cases for those tenants that are currently out of the apartment and are actually in need of long-term housing. We also work with the Red Cross to provide hotels to family that were affected, and they have graciously extended the stay along the stay of the hotel as long with the management company as well, who also provided stay for some of the affected families. So I had to say I've been working for emergency manager for 7 years. Prior to this, I used to work at city council. So one of the things that I've seen that I never seen before, having management company working so closely, often we don't get that. And that was really good because any issues that was brought up by elected officials or by anyone else, we're able to address the management company, and they've been helping us to address those issues. So that's been something very interesting about this activation. In addition to that, as the board president mentioned, while we were still providing services to the affected families of the Bronx, of the 5-alarm fire, we also had a gas explosion in Community Board 2. One of the things that we do, we try to send notifications as soon as possible to elected officials and community board. For new elected officials, if we don't have your contact information, you might not be getting this essential information. We don't respond to all of the emergencies, but when we do and we have someone on the scene, we pride ourselves on sending that information as soon as possible. Just have patience with us. Only 2 staff for 235 elected officials citywide, including community board. So we tried our best to send out and prioritize notification based on what is happening. It could be that you might have a 2-alarm fire that we are responding, but it could be that we have a bigger fire or another incident in the borough of Brooklyn, and we have to prioritize sending notification to them instead of you. But with that in mind, that doesn't mean that if you hear something in your community or something is happening, you cannot reach out to us. On the contrary, we pride ourselves to be very responsive when you send us an email. So if you send an email to the word intergov@oem.nyc.gov and you have any question about anything happening in your community, we're more than glad to either one, get the information if we're on the field, and if it's not us, tap up on other partners and other city agencies so they can provide you the information. I'm gonna type that email in a minute in the chat so you can all have access to. But again, for the new elected officials and community board member, we want to make sure that one, we have your contact information and that is accurate and that we have the right staff in your office, because we do send notifications and we want to make sure that you're getting this notification. And two, if you have any inquiries happening within your community or something happening that you're not sure, feel free to tap us. And if we are on it, we will let you know. Like yesterday, we had an inquiry from Brooklyn about a blackout in a particular area within a community board district, and we were not on scene, but we were able to tap on Con Edison to provide additional information to that particular community board. Again, I know it's a lot of information. We're still providing services and information. We have a website that I share on the chat that is providing resources and information. We also activated the NIXL, which is basically when you send the word 181 Street Fire to 692-692, you get alerts in 3 different languages about what's going on, for anyone that was affected in this 5-alarm fire. I know it's a lot of information. I'll be more than glad to also do presentation on a one-on-one with community boards and elected officials and provide you additional information if you need additional information on how we work. We also have an elected official guide, which I'm also going to share the link in a few minutes so you guys can take a look at it, because I think it has a lot of resources. And last but not least, not only we coordinate this emergency, but we're probably one of the few agencies that is involved in COVID operation and winter weather. And as you know, we expect a real severe winter weather this weekend. We are planning to see how we can best address information and trickle information. As you know, there's multiple agencies that might be activated for this weather, depending on how bad it's gonna come. So just have patience with us. We're trying to do as much as we can and provide you information. But if you don't see that we're reaching out to you, feel free to reach out to us and we will help you find the information that you need. That's it from our end, unless you have any questions.
We'll open up the floor for some questions. Chris, anyone with their hands raised?
Not yet, but just as a reminder, anyone can raise their hand in WebEx using the raise hand button. If you're on a phone, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. No hands raised so far, though.
Madam Deputy, if it's okay, let me just start by acknowledging the incredible work of emergency management. From the point of which this fire hit on January 9th, OEM was on the scene, making sure that we just gathered so many families. When we arrived at that scene that afternoon on Sunday, it was chaos. There were people screaming and running, and there were stretchers and the medical EMS, firefighters. It was a lot happening at the same time. And OEM was able to get us the local school, the Tapsco School, as the evacuation site, and really just trying to get families to a place of shelter, and then making sure that we identified what their immediate needs are. And since that time, 3 weeks later, while I know that emergency management is a citywide agency responding to disasters all over the 5 boroughs, I am grateful that staff has remained on site for the past 3 weeks at the Monroe Service Center. So I wanted to say just, the Assistant Commissioner Christine Farrow and the entire team have been absolutely amazing. And unfortunately, I have history working with them before when we've had fires in my former council district. So certainly no exception to all the great work that you do. But on this occasion, I just wanted to say thank you. So if you could just extend our gratitude to the team at OEM for all of the work that you've done over these 3 weeks. And even as we close the service center, work will remain. Most of the work will be diverted now to Bronx Works on the case management side and CVR on the housing assistance side. We need to make sure that we get families into long-term housing and working with the Department of Ed as far as our children who are enrolled in the local public schools, because they do need a significant amount of counseling and services, and really making sure that we follow the families as they may leave. And then we're also mindful that there are many families that stayed and will stay at Twin Park, so we're not leaving them behind as well. And so again, thank you, everyone, and thank you, OEM, for all of your work.
Thank you, Madam Borough President. I'll make sure I let my acting commissioner know that you were so grateful. And it was a pleasure to work with all of you guys. I know some of the elected officials are new in their roles, so we're more than welcome to walk you through this. And hopefully we can work with you on presentation, not on tragic events like this.
Madam VP and Deputy, we do have one hand raised and one question in the chat. I saw the hand first, so Dr. Bola, go ahead.
Good morning, Madam VP and also Madam Deputy. I just want to express my gratitude and on behalf of our community, our district, to OEM and all the first responder and everyone else, and more importantly to the VP and the Deputy for going beyond just the call of duty on that fateful day of Sunday, 9th of January. We understand. My question to OEM is that I know you do need resources in terms of how preparedness for the community board. We do have, and I'm speaking on behalf of Board 5, and I'm assuming that my colleagues are other chairs on the board. Each community board has a directory of every organization in the district. Were you able to tap into that directory on Sunday to know which organization will be readily available to assist, and even in other tragedy, I mean the explosion? Is this something that you are able to tap into? That's one. The second question is, how feasible is it that we are able to support those who are coming out of hospital because of this tragedy? I understand HIPAA rules, but it's also my understanding that Bronx Works is the custodian of what's going on, and those who are coming out of hospital are being asked to call Red Cross for placement, which they become confused.
Hi, doctor. So I understood the first one. I was having a hard time to understand the second one, but I'll address the first one first. So emergency management really do depend on the community boards to provide this information. I know some of you have information in there, but to us, I was asked to go on site on Sunday, and it was really hard for me to start putting information on an email. So what I did instead, I called different elected officials on their phone that I had their contact information. And some of that, and some of the rest, I met them on site because you guys were already there even before I arrived, and I arrived in the afternoon. I know my acting commissioner was there earlier than me, and so on and so forth. So we really depend on the elected officials to provide us the information. That's why we stress so hard that we get cell phone information from you guys, because sometimes the first information you're gonna get is gonna be either text message or call, because it's easier for us to make that kind of notification while on the run. Then the rest of notification that we will do will be things that we get from on the scene, and we'll put it on the email. I had to be honest with you. What we usually do is we usually send it to the district manager of each community board, hoping that they share it with the rest of the board member, because it's easier for us. When we're talking about notifications, we pride ourselves in sending it to community boards, council members, assembly members, senators. We're talking about also about the congressional member and board president. And with that, it comes a lot of different emails that we had to tag along. And then we had to CC City Hall, and we had to CC CAU. So there's a lot of partners that we actually CC. So we depend on the community board to pass it on to the rest of the members. So that's why maybe the email didn't go directly to you, but I know it went to Ken, and then vice versa. I know a lot of the questions you were asking through Ken, so they can go back to us. So that's the notifications method that we had. What was your other question, Dr. Bola? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the other question.
Yeah, my second question, it's about the follow-up with victims who are being discharged from the hospital from day one and up to date. So how do you coordinate them? The only thing they have is to go to call Red Cross.
So
Someone who's been discharged from the hospital.
no, that's a great question, Dr. Bola, and thank you for bringing that up. So I want to make this clear because we get this question a lot. We don't get information about hospitalization. We don't get information who's getting discharged. Unfortunately, that's not something that we do get. However, I know that City Hall CAU do have the list of all of the tenants that were on record for this particular building, and they reach out to them not only to see if they needed anything, but they also reach out because they were giving out some gift card and wanted to make sure that the gift was being distributed. Again, that's the operation Mayor Office CAU was doing, but they did get a list of the tenants and they were trying to reach out tenants, and that's how they were knowing who was and who didn't get. And I believe that list has been transitioned to Bronx Borough. But as a coordinating agency, we don't get lists. So if you calling me to ask me for a list of a particular incident, I would tell you right now, I don't have a list. We don't get lists of anything because we're not a social service agency and that's not part of our purview. But I know that CAU did get a list and they were working through that list to check on people and make sure that every family was needed. Another thing that I want to point out, you reminded me, Dr. Bola, we had a couple of cases in which a particular family member was on the lease and, was out of the apartment immediately after the fire and somebody else was in the hospital. So we do know that the Red Cross was able to accommodate some family members that were not immediately on the scene, but were like to a hospital or somewhere else, were working. They were able to tag them to that particular case work and work with them to house those people as well. And that was something that, again, Operational Red Cross does on the side, but that was something that was brought to our attention by several elected officials of cases of family member that were not immediately on scene, but they were able to be tagged to that particular case and be able to be housed with the Red Cross and the management building.
Lastly, if I have the privilege of asking the last question, there were families, there were individuals that passed away. They don't live in the building, they were visiting. And there were individuals that went to the hospital because they were visiting. And there were individuals that had no link at all, just because they were at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they got caught up with this. How is OEM able to address those?
So far we've been tagged to family members that were related to people. So let me clarify. So we were made aware of cases in which family members were not on the scene working and while this incident occurred, and then now they needed assistance. When that happened, we linked it up to the provider, which it was Red Cross, and to provide a housing for the family member. And when the service center was open, we were trying to encourage people to go and get the services because there were more than one particular agency. Now, we were not aware of any particular case in which people were affected, but they don't live in this building. If that was the case, then I strongly suggest that you give us the contact information, and then we can see with the social services agencies to see what services they might need and what they're entitled to. But again, until today, we haven't gotten a particular case like the one you mentioned. We got other type of case, and we'll be able to address with the help of all the partner agencies. Because like I said, we're not a social service agency, so we have to defer to the other agencies to provide services.
Okay, I'll just give you two scenarios real quick. A mother and a son died. They were not in the building. They were not a resident of the building. They were visiting. And the 19-year-old son, they live in a different housing. That is one. Two, there was another lady who pregnant and lived in Connecticut, came back, left the building, was taken to, and as we speak, she lost the baby. How do you address such? And these are the things that we get right on the spot. Being in the trenches, for lack of better words. Who do we direct that request to?
Thank you, Doctor. So I understand the question better now. So for anyone that passed away, I know the mayor's fund was helping out with providing assistance. I'm not sure. I don't work for the mayor's fund. I cannot speak on their behalf, but I can find out more information on it. If you can connect us with those cases in particularly via email, share that information, I can pass it on to the right agency and see how they can support. But I do understand your question now, and I would love to explore an answer for that, but I don't have the answer right now. That's all the agencies' purview, and I would love to connect to the right agency. So please send us the information I will address.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see two questions in the chat. Arlene Parks dropped a question in there and also has her hand up. So Arlene, if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, I just want to ask if there are any disaster fire plan guidelines that your office can share. It would be very helpful. And the reason I'm saying that is in the development that I have, where we have a management agent, we actually have a disaster fire plan in effect in case there is a fire, for what staff should do, first to respond to the fire, and who they should notice, and then coordinate activity with the fire department, and then what they need to be doing to help residents get to a location where they can wait until the fire has been extinguished. I mean, there's a whole series of things that need to happen in the event of a fire so that if you are a property owner, these standard procedures should be in place, and including who to call from the Red Cross, who typically would assist families to get housing if it's needed. So it would be very helpful if, and that plan is then reviewed with staff so that they know what they need to be doing in real time, and it becomes part of the norm, because you have to have a plan in place if there's a disaster, and so there is a response by the ownership to be on site in case they have to be there to interface with media or electeds or anyone officially. So ownership is responsible to be there on site, and the management agent has to be there on site. So it would be very helpful if we could have general guidelines for OEM so that for in the future, we all can have something on general guidelines to ensure that, God forbid, if another fire incident happens, we're all on the same page. We know who to contact and can then reach out on behalf of the impacted families to get the resources that they needed, and it becomes coordinated. So is there anything in place like that now, or is it being contemplated?
So thank you for your question. That's actually an excellent question. So there's two components to that. So emergency management work where other city agents like the fire department and the Red Cross to do emergency preparedness and fire prevention. That's something that we have done in the past, and I know we're working with the board president and the rest of the elected officials in the Bronx to coordinate trainings that can help people save their life. In addition to that, emergency management do have emergency preparedness guides that are translated in 13 different languages that can help people prepare their own emergency plan. And it's a step-by-step emergency plan. I have shared the information on the chat, and you can actually access on it and request it. More importantly, if you have any organizations within your community, or you have tenants association or anything like that, or a big group, congregation, anything like that, we love to come out and do presentation. I know I'm speaking on behalf of the fire department as well. We do a presentation in multiple languages. Now, because of COVID, some of them are being virtual. But we do presentation in multiple languages to make sure that New Yorkers are ready for any type of emergency. It could be a fire, it could be a water main break. You know, there's different emergencies that can affect you and your family differently. We also do it for seniors, and we do it. We also do it for different uh, um, people within the communities, because we know that when you talk to seniors, you have to talk about preparedness in a different level than when you talk about, you know, with a church, and when you talk about with businesses as well. We do presentation for business owners as well, so they can be ready. As per resources for community boards and elected officials, we do have our emergency management elected official guide that tell you step by step some of the scenarios of that you can be facing with, and you know what are the options. I know one of the questions that we get a lot during the winter is like, do you create a warming center? And we're like, the answer is no. We don't have a warming center because, you know, there's a lot of issues with warming center. Simple question as who do we contact when we have an incident like this? You know, do we contact the fire department? Do we contact emergency management? Well, the answer is you should contact both, because you know we don't respond to all emergencies. Of unfortunately, because we don't have the capacity to run all of the emergencies. And on top of that, not all emergency requires a coordination from emergency management. So that's why I always say, if you have a question, point it out, send it to us. And if it's not us, we will definitely CC the right agency and partner on it so they can provide the information. We do this a lot with DEP. I know FE is on the line. And every time there's a water main break or something like that, I know the normal instance would be, let's contact DEP, but sometimes we get it. And sometimes DEP is already doing their own notification, but we love to CC agencies to make sure that they know what we're communicating and that the message is the same across.
Thank you. And finally, one last question. Some years back, OEM came to community boards and they did a really excellent job. The presentation was at Lincoln Hospital for disaster planning. And basically, we were able to get volunteers in event of a disaster for community residents to be trained. So if there was a hurricane or big disaster, we knew and would be able to coordinate with your office to notify who the emergency helpers are. Right now, I think we need to do an update and then get a list of new heroes to if there's a community-wide disaster, on who we all need to coordinate and just basically get them out there. That seriously needs to be done. And will you be able to help us coordinate that effort and do a training and get new volunteers Bronx-wide?
So you actually want to have my whole 2022 year plan. Perfect. So in the 2022 year plan, I know we had your elected officials. So one of the things that we're trying to do, but again, COVID has been very challenging, is to do a meet and greet with elected officials and community board. In particularly, we want to do a one-on-one training of what emergency management is and what we do, and kind of bring you over to our headquarters so you guys can see where the watch command is and where our operation center is, where all of the agencies come together. That what is we have planned. We still don't have a date yet. But the other thing is we do still continue to recruit CERT member, which are our volunteer core, and we push information about that all the time. In addition to that, we do trainings, and we do you know, the last one we just did was about snow. And unfortunately enough, like we did a couple of days ago, and look, now we're talking about snow this weekend. So we do training internally, but we do trainings for external partners. So as soon as those training become available, I will share that information with you guys. But if you want a presentation, you can always request it to that email that I share, and we're more than happy to, you know, see how we can address your request and then do the presentation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ken Brown, I see you have your hand raised. If you want to unmute and go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Let me begin by saying thank you so very, very much to the current borough president, Vanessa Gibson. She was on roller skates when she was a council member. I don't even know what analogy to use now. And OEM has been fantastic in this, and all the other acronyms. The fire department's been out doing a lot of presentations out in the community. It's my understanding that the hotels for the families will close and be unavailable as of February 7th. So can you briefly, because I have to get off at 11, describe what will happen to the families that have not had placement come February 7th?
Great question, Ken. Thank you so much for letting me know. So one thing that I want to actually clarify again, Red Cross is one of our partners, and we work very closely with Red Cross to do this. Usually, the hotel allocation is for 3 days, thanks to the board president and her team, and the rest of the elected officials. Red Cross was kind enough to extend this to a longer term, understanding the need for this, and we really appreciate the flexibility with Red Cross and HPV to kind of help with the extension of it until the 7th. So what been happening since the 9th is identifying the tenants that needed to the apartments that were affected and that couldn't go back, and the apartments that could not go back, and kind of identify them, and then working with HPD and DOB and all of the other partner agencies doing their thing, what they do with tenants where they're displaced, is to kind of identify who will be a long term and who's not going to be a long term. I know from my partners at CAU, they've been reaching out to tenants constantly, and we've been sending out messaging asking tenants to register with Bronx Work. Because at the end of the day, if you are long term, if a tenants that need long term housing, you need to register to ensure that you're being allocated somewhere else, because again, these are apartments that were totally damaged by the fire. So what is going to happen is most of the tenants that were able to go back, they should have already go back to the apartment. And then the ones that have not, those are tenants that should already have a plan in place with Bronx Work to be relocated. Again, if there's a particular incident in which you hear a particular apartment was supposed to end on the 7th, but they don't have a plan with Bronx Work, it is strongly advised that they connect with Bronx Work to work with their case management, because again, emergency management is not a case management agency, to ensure that these people are linked up with the services that they're entitled to. We know there's a few of them that are going to be long-term vacated because of the conditions of the apartment. They need to be in contact with Bronx Work, and I know our partners at CAU are in constant communication with some of the tenants to ensure and push and help us spread the word that they need to connect if they haven't done so. If you know anybody that haven't done that, please help us out spread the word, because it is crucial that at this time they already are linked up with Bronx Work and that they're working together with Bronx Work.
Okay, thanks you, Corinne. And sorry, everyone, I have another meeting I have to go to now, but thank you. Take care, everyone. Gotta go.
All right. I do not see any other hands raised at the moment.
Thank you so much, Jo Karina, for that very detailed presentation and taking in and fielding questions. In addition to OEM's work, again, the Borough President's Office has been working tirelessly in collaboration with our partners in government, the Mayor's Office, OEM, and other city agencies to really just streamline the process. To Dr. Bola's point, there are bits and pieces here and there, and we've been working around the clock just to ensure that we are streamlining services. And so Bronx Works is the local case management agency at the moment. Dr. Bola, we OEM, along with our the Borough President's Office, we're working on a flyer to ensure that there's consolidated information for everyone. And so we're also going to work with the different hospitals and the social workers at the hospitals to ensure that upon release, folks know where to turn to and are able to be connected to resources immediately. I also just want to make a note that our office has been working with public and private partners to identify gaps and retrieve different resources. Last week, we distributed air purifiers to each and every resident personally, and we'll continue to, again, identify the needs on the ground, but it's through local collaboration and community partnerships. The community boards, the council members, our local nonprofit organizations that are our eyes and ears on the grounds. Whatever we miss, we're constantly in communication with the Gambian Youth Organization, and the folks that are, again, just on the ground and have that familiarity and connection to the families that were impacted by the fire. So together as a collective, we are identifying gaps and ensuring that we are identifying partners that can meet the needs of the family on a day-to-day and an ongoing basis. And so I just wanted to add to Jokarina's point. If there aren't any further questions, I just want to again recognize that there are many new community board members, as well as representatives, as well as city council representatives on. And so I wanted to give the floor over to the city council member representatives if there are any announcements. Don't be shy.
I do not see any hands raised yet. I don't know if anybody from any of the agencies has anything to announce.
Our borough president has her hand raised.
Just want to make a quick announcement, everyone. Our office is going to be hosting an Interfaith fire safety training. It's going to be a virtual presentation by city agencies to talk about the education and some of the fire awareness information that FDNY has been conducting even prior to the fire at Twin Parks. I think Ms. Arlene Parks talked a little bit about what opportunities we have now, and I appreciate that because I think it's important for all of you as leaders in your respective community boards and your districts to do as much as we can to provide education and outreach in multiple languages in a culturally sensitive way, because we have to do our part to be preventative and not reactive. While we're not in any of these cases of any fires or disasters, we are never blaming tenants or homeowners, because we know that people are making decisions to help themselves and their families. And obviously, there are much bigger issues around policy that we have to deal with, working with our legislators around fire safety, self-closing doors, space heaters that are regulated, dealing with the federal, state, and local government. But outside of that, we have a role as well. And so we can never do enough on education. We can never do enough on promotion and making sure that families are prepared in the event of a fire, evacuation procedures. Does their building have a fire escape? Is there a sprinkler system? Is there a fire alarm system? Things of that nature. A lot of these things have taken place prior to the pandemic, but certainly now, after the pandemic, a lot of these trainings are being done remotely. So we will make sure that our office sends out the flyer. It's going to be Wednesday, February the 9th at 7 p.m. It's a virtual call, February 9th at 7 p.m., and it relates to fire safety and fire education training. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Any other announcements from our office, Marisol, Alexis?
Good morning. It's Tom Lucania. Good morning. Just wanted to announce that the community board application is now available for new applicants. It is on our website. We have sent it to the members of the city council as well. It is also available and on our website in Spanish. Both the memo and the application have been translated into Spanish. If anybody would like an application sent to you by mail, we also can do that for those residents who may not have access to the internet. The application due date is Friday, March the 4th. That also goes for the reappointment applications, which are being mailed out this week. And the date for return on reappointment applications is also March the 4th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Oh, Marisol, go ahead. And then we do have a couple of hands raised, but
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I just want to announce the next meeting is going to be on February 24th. I know that the schedule shows February 17th or the 24th, but just for everybody's schedule, it'll be February 24th.
All right, George Torres, I saw your hand next. If you want to unmute and go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to ask about Tom's statement. Actually, we've been getting phone calls from potential board members because as part of the application process, you still have on the website, or you sent it, I don't know if it was purposely or not, we're meeting remotely. So there's a sheet on the application that requires them to get a signature from the chair or the district manager. I've been telling people they don't necessarily have to do that, but I don't want to misinform them. What is the rule on that?
What we have told people, and we've told them this both last year, and it was anticipated that we would be back in session when the applications were originally put together again. But what I've told folks is that there are some members who have faxed over or emailed over to a chair or a district manager, and they've signed it and have sent it back to that applicant, and they've included it in the application. That's fine. In addition, if that's not possible for some reason, we've said if you would self-certify that you attended a particular meeting on a particular date and sign it, you can send that in as part of the application. But there is no issue with somebody emailing the community board office a copy of that form. And if you've seen them as part of one of your community board meetings, that you can sign it. But if that's not possible, we are at this point allowing them to be self-certifying it.
Thank you.
And I saw Mike Sharp from Finance has his hand raised. Mike, you want to go ahead and unmute?
Morning, everyone. It's good to be with you, and thank you, as always, for the invitation. From the Department of Finance, we just want to make you aware that we are in the property tax exemption season. So individuals who may be eligible for various exemptions, veterans, clergy, seniors, individuals with a disability, this is the time to submit an application for those exemptions. The full information and applications are on the Department of Finance website. Also, this is what we call notice of property value season. If you haven't already gotten this document from us, you will be receiving it shortly. And it's a snapshot of what we have on file for you for the coming tax year. That's the tax year that will begin in July of 2022. So please review it. It's not a bill, but it's packed full of information that can help you, even if you feel you need to challenge some of our determinations. If you want to know exactly what's we're estimated to be your taxes, please take a look at your notice of property value. And this is for homeowners and condo owners. This is also the time for the condo and co-op abatement program for developments that participate in that program. Residents have to just let them know that this is your primary residence, and they would be eligible if the development is in the program to have a reduction in their property taxes. And last but not least, as always, we're encouraging people, if they're in the rent freeze program. Through COVID, many people did not formally renew, and that is a requirement. So we're asking everyone in your communities, please inquire when you engage with your tenants from your neighborhood. They may live in rent stabilized apartments. Ask them if they are eligible, and if they are in the program, did they renew? And those are just a few bullet points. The information about, there will be NOPV information sessions in February, 8 of them, to find out how to use this notice of property value. Please go to the website and to the outreach tab, and you'll have the information to register there. Thanks.
Let's see one more hand that went up just now. Orlando Torres, if you want to unmute and go ahead.
Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Orlando Torres. I work at the New York City Commission on Human Rights. And I just want to give a quick but important announcement on a change in our law. So starting March 12th, the city human rights law is going to protect domestic workers in New York City from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation under our employment protections. This is also going to entitle them to reasonable accommodations. So domestic workers can include nannies, home care workers, house cleaners, any worker who is employed in a home that provides childcare, elder care, companionship, or housekeeping services. Most full-time and part-time workers are covered. The only exemption to this law is going to be domestic workers who are hired by their own family members. But other than that, everyone is covered. And it also is important. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach around this in the coming months, because what it means is that anyone who hires domestic workers is now liable as an employer under the city human rights law. So, your regular person hiring a nanny or something like that is now liable under this law as well. Okay, so I just want to put that word out there. I'll put my contact information in the chat, but we're really looking to do as much outreach and education on this as possible. So feel free to invite us to present to your community boards, to your agency staff. If you have, if you know of organizations in your areas who are working a lot with domestic workers, home health aides, please feel free to put us in contact with them. If you're getting questions in your district offices, feel free to refer those folks to us about this or anything related to the human rights law. So I just wanted to say that, and thanks everyone.
All right, Madam Deputy, I do not see any additional hands raised.
Great. Thank you so much. And just lastly, I just wanted to add, I know many community boards and city council members have also used their district offices as collection sites for donations. If you are overflowing in kind donations, please feel free to reach out to our offices. We are trying our best to relieve some of the district offices from those materials and ensure that the families of the fire are receiving such resources. So only if you're at capacity, let us know. But if you're working with your constituents in delivering services, then continue to do so. But if you are overflowing in donations, please reach out to our offices. And with that said, again, thank you so much for your time this morning. We're excited. We're able to write a new page in history and work collectively and collaboratively on moving the Bronx forward. And, to echo our borough president's sentiments, I'm excited to be able to serve at such a time as this, and truly looking forward to working with each and every one of you as we move the borough along. And hopefully in person very, very soon. But again, thank you so much for the welcome. And we are so excited, energized, and motivated to work with all of you. And again, just grow a safer and better Bronx. So thank you so much for your time. And with that, we will conclude.
All right.
Chris.
Yes.